Welcome. I want to remind you that we will be recording our meeting. We will not be using chat for this meeting, and we will raise your hand. You go to participants, and there's a hand raise at the bottom of the page. So you can raise your hand that way so we don't end up talking over each other. Some people might have a hand raise at the bottom of their screen. I know I do not. So that's so we can, one person talk at a time. So welcome. And we're going to welcome our guests. So we have Paul, welcome. We're glad you're here today. Anything else you'd like to add about why you keep coming back? Because we love having you.
Oh, there used to be an expression like a bad penny. I keep coming back, and that's as good as an explanation as any.
And you get polished every time.
Thank you.
And Ramona, welcome. You're the polisher of the bad penny? You're on mute, Ramona.
A belated thank you for the welcome.
Great. And Sunita, we would love to have you share about your running for the school board in our beautiful city of Beaverton.
Thank you, Martha. Thanks for the opportunity. I wanted to share with everyone, if you haven't received your ballots, that I am running for the school board director position for Beaverton School District, Zone 4. And for those of you who don't know, I'd like to share something about me so that it will help you make your decision. I have been a Beaverton resident since 1994. I've lived here with my husband and raised 2 sons who went to Beaverton Public Schools, starting from Cooper Mountain, Mountain View, and they graduated with an IB diploma from Southridge High School. They went off to very good universities and are doing well. And I'm a strong advocate for the public school systems. I support it completely. I would like to devote my energy and time in making good quality education accessible to kids in Beaverton. My one and only one agenda is that I want to give my time for good education for the kids, for the school system. And I want to do that by supporting our educators, our school systems, because they are the backbone of our schools. I want to do that by listening to our parents, caregivers, students, what their concerns and issues are, and making sure that we make that happen. Whatever their issues, we resolve it, because they want the best for the kids. And of course, the students are the one who knows what's going on with them. I want to do that by getting our community involved, by utilizing the resources that are available in our community from nonprofits like Stand for Children, from for-profits, corporations, and making sure that we utilize those funding for our school systems. I want to do that by working with our government at all different levels, starting from the city, county, state, and federal level, in making sure that we all work together for our kids, for the next generation, for the leadership, so that we can make Beaverton a beautiful place to live for our kids, so that they feel that only thing that they have to go when they step in that school is education. We make sure that we have good education, accessibility to music, extracurricular activities for them. We make sure that when they come out of school system, that they are thinkers, they ask good questions, they make right choices in life. They respect themselves, they're compassionate to themselves and others in the community. And I can only do that if you all will vote for me. I would be honored to get your vote come this May 18th elections. I have the experience and the background. I have been a mother. I have put through my kids there. I am a CPA. I have worked in the industry for over 20 years. I have managed teams. I have made things happen in a corporate world. Now I want to do it for just because it is supposed to be done. We need to come forward and do things for our community just for the sake because it should be done. And that's why I'm here. Thank you. If you have any questions, fire away.
Thanks, Sunita.
Thank you, Sunita. Thank you, thank you. Okay, we're going to move along and we're going to review the minutes for April. Any changes, additions, comments, questions? Sunita, you did an outstanding job. Again.
Thank you.
So move to approve our April minutes. Thank you, Bev. And vote. All in favor? Awesome. Minutes approved. Thank you. I like it, whoever did that. So now we're going to do some, we had some members go out into the community this last month and follow up on some tasks. So I'm going to call, I know Bev has been out there. So Bev, please share what you've discovered this month.
Okay. Well, it's been interesting contacting the cities directly to find out, number one, do you have a committee or advisory board for the aging in your community? They're still not open, so finding someone is not realistic right now, but I'll continue. I'll pick that up when I feel, and I'll check from time to time. So I will follow up on that because I think it is really important, more important. And I'm not sure, Martha, if you want me to get into anything that are the new ideas, because I did find out quite a bit on that.
Oh, why don't you, can you give a short synopsis of what you discovered?
Well, what I did end up doing was becoming more involved in finding out what is occurring for committees or advisory boards on aging across the different settings. Like for us, we have the city, then we have the county, and then we have the state. And interestingly enough, I watch C-SPAN a lot, and I ended up getting in on a committee hearing. It was a special committee on aging. Very, very interesting. Did not realize that we had an actual group of people in Congress who regularly review information on aging. And so my proposal is going to be that we have a contact and we know what is going on at these different levels, like even the county and the state, very, very important. And then also the federal level. I know that we have, because I've sat in on other Beaverton groups to see what's going on. And I know that they do have contacts with different groups across state level. And I think that's really important and something we need to consider. I have some strong feelings about a couple of things of what our purpose as a committee is. I don't know if you want me to cover that now or later.
We will do that later, but thank you for bringing us up to date, Bev.
Okay.
Perfect. And thank you for staying with it. Maybe now as more people are getting vaccinated, maybe some of these nonprofits and agencies are going to open up a little bit. So we'll see what happens. Okay, anybody else have something to add for this week?
Can I ask a question of Bev?
Oh,
Bev,
absolutely.
did you get a contact for that committee on aging for the one in Congress? Did you get any contact?
Yes,
for that?
yes. In fact, I meant to bring it down. I didn't realize it, but C-SPAN publishes every 2 years when Congress members change just a fantastic directory of how to contact everybody in Congress, the committees, who chairs it, what's going on. So yes, I do have that.
If you can email me that, maybe I will just, at least for the committee on aging, if anybody wants to know that, then I'll put it in the minutes. That
Okay,
would be a
very good.
helpful
I will do that.
information. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Anybody else? John, I think you were going to go to the bicycle committee or touch base with them.
Yes, I was, but I was unable to find out if they're still meeting.
Oh, okay.
I looked at one point and I couldn't find anything, and so I failed to follow up on that.
Okay, what were you looking to find out from them?
Well, not really find out from them, but just to sit in on their meetings, like I did when I was a member of that committee with THPRD.
Okay,
See what they're doing, and then I could report back here.
wonderful. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I
I'll
don't
take a
know.
look again.
Great. I don't know if, I know some of the groups are meeting. I don't know if everybody is meeting. So, well, I love these sounds that people are doing.
Yeah.
Yes, Bev.
I can't find my hand on that participant, so I don't
Okay,
know.
and raise your hand.
So I just raised it.
Your hand.
I'd like to add to what John is saying, and that is what I have found in other Beaverton City groups, okay, that are appointed by the city, is that they do reach out to the other committees and groups. And so what he was saying, attending those meetings, I do know that they do that there are several of them who do that, and
Great.
which is a good idea.
Perfect. Wonderful. Any
Okay.
other updates from anybody?
It looks like the next meeting of the Bicycle Advisory Committee is actually Friday, May 13th.
Okay,
So I may be able to sit in on that.
okay. I think it's the 14th, John, if it's Friday.
Well, it says May 13th, so,
Oh, then it must be Thursday.
oh boy, I may and may not, because I'm headed, no, I won't be able to, because I'm headed to Seattle Thursday.
Okay. And remember, they're online. So if you are somewhere, you can get to there. Nobody's meeting in person.
I know, but it's the first I'll be seeing my grandson.
I know. I'm putting out an offer. And, you know, he might be sleeping. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Any other update? Good. Okay. Now we're going to move into short and long-term activities. And I sent everybody out a list of ideas. And one of them is visiting organizations and so forth. And we're gonna wait a few minutes because Carly's gonna do a really good activity with us called the Whiteboard. So short and long-term goals. I want to share a long-term goal with you all. And hi, Suzanne. I finally got together with Mary Ellen from Viva Village, who was gung-ho on October 1st, honoring our older citizens, and Beth Gilbert from the library, and Kara Magaro from Dave's, Washington County, and myself. We got together and finally decided we are going to have a September 1st, 2022 event. And I think I sent everybody a copy of the minutes of that meeting. This first year, we're going to use our H Cafe as a jumping off point because everything is so uncertain right now and we don't want to meet online. So we are visioning that in 2022, we will be able to meet as a group at a place. And so we have about, I said 17 months to plan, but let's say more like 12 or 14. And in order to celebrate our older citizens, we're looking at recognizing and acknowledging them. And I listed we as a group listed some areas like committee engagement, public service, business owner, education, volunteerism, social events, neighborhood help, and work with teens. And that list can be modified as we go. Then we want to do the sock hop. We've been trying to do a sock hop for 2 years now. So we thought, what a great time to have a sock hop in celebration with acknowledging our older citizens. And we'd like to find places that would cater food and drink, not all of it, but maybe most of it. And to also find out what do we have to do with the city in order to have a ballot to go out to vote for our older citizens, and is there some kind of proposal we need to submit to the city in order to have perhaps Mayor Beatty honor the awards given. So there's some information that we have to find out about that. And
Martha, can I pause you? Can you say a little bit more about what you're talking about to see there, maybe there's something, I don't know if there's something that I can look into for you.
oh yeah,
I'd be happy to, but I'm just not really totally clear. If
Okay.
you don't mind just going over that
No.
part a little bit more about what you know so far.
well, we weren't
Hi,
sure.
Sophie.
Hi, Sophie. We weren't sure if we were to use Mayor Beatty as the person who would give out the awards, if we then needed to write a proposal to the city council to say, this is what this is what we want to do, and if we have to get an approval for that. So sending out a ballot, having people vote, then we need somebody to count the votes, and then somebody to do the acknowledgements. So we're not sure if we need a proposal for that from the city. Does that help?
Maybe, but I think I saw Allison and Bev start to weigh in, so I'm gonna let them go first.
Okay, Allison, please.
I haven't run into this, so I don't have anything useful in terms of direction on it.
Okay,
I can ask, but Carley, have you had any opportunities to coordinate something like that before?
Nope. No,
Okay.
me either. I'm not very helpful. I was, yeah, so that's why I was like, well, I'm not totally sure. I mean, you know, in other ways, I would say like in the past, like when Mayor Doyle has done things with various committees, like he did, there was the contest. Sophie, I don't remember if it happened like the cupcake, was it the baking judging contest and he was a guest judge or something like that. So in more informal.
Carly, that was for me.
Right.
It was the cupcake challenge at my
Oh, yeah.
community.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So he was like a guest judge on that.
Yep.
So anyways, it just sort of struck me as something like, and maybe this is totally different, I don't know, but about getting involved more informally on kind of events or award ceremonies or things like this. I don't necessarily know that it would have to go through something formal to have like somebody, the mayor, be involved in some sort of award ceremony or something like this. But I guess it depends on like the scope of what you're talking about, which I'm not totally clear on. I think the Committee on Aging and or the other partners that you're all doing are certainly welcome to write something to share with City Council about an idea, but also if you do something on your own and want just sort of them to be invited as guests or have a role in that way, I think that's probably another option as well.
okay.
Right? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
this is new for us too. So we're only trying to cover all our bases so we don't get to the day of and then find out, oh, you should have done this, that, and the other thing, and we didn't do it. So what we're trying to do is cover all our bases.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And Bev, you had your hand up?
I did. I am not clear on what the awards or recognition would be for.
It's for honoring older citizens, and I emailed you all a thing. And some of the things we're looking at is community engagement, public service.
Okay, so you're referring to that as what people would be nominated for those awards.
Yes,
And then that's what the recognition would be for.
Yeah.
Alexis
they're
is.
just ideas. We're open to
Right.
others.
Yeah. Alexis, would that, or you too, Martha, would that be something that we would like the city to acknowledge? Or is that what you're thinking, Martha?
Well, Mary Ellen really wanted Susan Bonamici to do it, but she's going to be voting on October 1st. But that was this October 1st. Now we're looking at 2022. And so we decided to keep it local and have Mayor Beatty do the honors of giving out the awards.
So, you know,
It's an idea. We're
this is-
wide open to more.
really, I think that, and I don't want to take up too much time. I want you all to think about this, but I will just say also, like, you know, if there's some sort of nomination process that you all and maybe other folks in this committee want to get involved in this project too, Martha, because I think that was
Yes.
part of the invitation,
Oh, yes.
is to say
that's
who wants
exactly
to
right.
get involved in this collaborative effort. And that's a great way for the BCOA to work on a project too, is to work on something that's got some outside Washington County partners. If there's a nomination process, my sense is that the city would help to support and get that message out to the whole community, like through the York City Magazine, to say, hey, do you know somebody in the community that you want to nominate in these areas? That I think there's things like that that wouldn't that I would say that we would run it by the mayor, but my guess is that she would probably be supportive of something like that. Obviously, we would have to, you know, get permissions and things like this, but I think that in general, that aligns with things I've seen in the past, if that makes sense. Like, you know, some sort of community nomination process for various categories, and then some sort of, you know, ceremony and acknowledgement of celebrating people in the community.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about this later. Okay, Suzanne? You're on mute, hon.
Okay. Still?
Nope, I can hear you.
Now I'm full. Washington County would be a good group to help, because they've got all kinds of committees and et cetera, and lots of people working to do really good stuff in the community. There'd be a lot of people that we could recognize.
Yeah, well, Kara Magrill is part of the committee.
Yeah.
And so anyway, this is the vision of this committee meeting that we had, was this would be something yearly that BCOA would put on and would put us on the map. And it would be fun. And every year we recognize and acknowledge our seniors. Yes, Neil.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to add on that. I think it would be like a really good idea. I think there's like, I have some connections with seniors I know like that do great things, and it'd just be a great way to like kind of bring that awareness to us and also the seniors in Beaverton too.
Awesome.
I really like the idea.
Because there are people out there doing things that I have no idea about. And yet they're holding up our families and our kids and our communities. So anyway, this is for further discussion. I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and we're really excited about it. Okay, so we're going to move along to our whiteboard. To go, Carley. She's going to lead us through it.
Well, and I will just say that the idea with the whiteboard is, and we don't have to jump to the whiteboard quite yet. I will in just a second. Hi, Jamie. We didn't say hi to you when you walked in.
Oh,
so
hi, Jamie.
Welcome. She popped in too. The idea is that, you know, Martha wanted to share this idea of a project, but the idea was to spend a little bit of time thinking about what kinds of projects. Martha's presented this one. Bev's been doing a lot of research. So thinking about doing a little bit of brainstorming together around the different kinds of projects that you want to see if we need any subcommittees to be working on anything right now. We don't have to have subcommittees, that's optional, but if you want to pick a couple of projects to work on, you know, now that things have sort of settled into some sort of a groove of the year, we thought this would be a good time to be able to think about that a little bit. So that's what we're just going to do on the whiteboard. So what I'm going to do is pull it up and then make a list as if we were in like person using an actual whiteboard, making a list. And then we can talk about it. And then I'll show you how to mark a stamp on there too. So I'll show you in a second here, but so that's the idea. But are there any other questions about this, you know, this thing that Martha was sharing, or anything else that anybody else wanted to share and explain a little bit before it's on your mind in terms of project related activities or updates? Because we had some that walked in, well, I say walked in, came in, joined the meeting a little bit after we were sharing some of the updates. So was there anything that got missed? Just wanted to make sure.
Carley?
Yeah, Ramona.
I think this all got started, to go back to the very beginning of it, that Viva Village was the instigator, I believe, as far as the older citizens recognition, because there is, I guess nationally or internationally, they've designated October 1 as a day for recognizing, International Day for recognizing older adults. It's a very broad category. And so Viva Village wanted in some way to partner possibly with the BCOA and other organizations, wider organizations, because after all, it's supposedly an international day, not just limited to Oregon or to our community. To show recognition and honor the older seniors, the older population in the community around the world. So that's what the push was to start with. And so contact was made with our representative in Congress, but unfortunately we were told she had to be in DC for that day, so she couldn't participate on October 1st with whatever event we came up with. So it's kind of grown from that, and that's all I'll say about it. But we're very pleased at the enthusiasm and the way it's taken off.
That's great. Thank you so much. That's helpful context to know the history of it. And in the past, the BCOA has also put forward an agenda bill to recognize on October 1st, the Older Americans Day, or month, really. So we didn't do it last year, but the year before we did. And we could do that again if there's interest to do that. But this is great. It's really exciting to sort of see this momentum with, especially with having the BCOA and Viva Village and Washington County all putting their heads together. And the library. Okay, great. Yeah, a lot of partners. Yeah. Great. Jamie, did you have something that you wanted to?
Yeah, no, well, first off, I'm so sorry I was late to this meeting. I had an unexpected event that just pulled my attention. But from what I've heard about this idea of celebrating our own older seniors, I absolutely love it. And I'm just thinking of it from sort of the perspective of how to get nominations for this from our fellow community members as a way to both market and promote this. And I would be happy to throw my name in the hat of when we do have nominees or a voting process for winners. I would love to sort of sit down and interview these individuals and put together little bios and write-ups. So that could be a fun way to engage them and make them feel a little bit more special about, you know, having someone really sit down and try to gather all of the salient parts and highlights of their life into a, you know, a written format.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's a good idea.
Perfect. See, it takes a village to come up with great ideas. Thank you, Jamie.
Okay, well, let me switch over to the whiteboard for a second and see. Here, let's do this. So now you all should be able to see the whiteboard. And I'm going to open this here. And now, so I'm going to call this first one here the awards project. Oh, actually, let me call it. Just, this is probably not a perfect description, but will you all remember what I'm talking about when I write that? So this is one project that has gotten mentioned. So are there other ideas that have come up for people? So let me just take a minute and we could just sort of brainstorm a few things that are coming up for people that you think that in the next, let's just say between the next 6 and 9 months, you could see us as, or you all as a committee, us all as a committee, you know, doing some work on. So what comes up for you? Martha, can you watch for hands? I
Yes.
think I see Sunita. Can you help me watch for hands? Okay, Sunita?
Yeah, one of the things that comes to my mind is that, there's been a lot of talk. I've heard this from other members, BCO members, about intergenerational, a project where the kids are also involved and the seniors are involved. So maybe have once a year or maybe twice a year, like a group of youth and BCO members, and just communicate between and talk about, what they have, maybe a set of questions. And this is, I'm just throwing ideas and you guys can think about this. What are your concerns and issues? How do you handle it? Or what do you look for when you talk to a senior? Or, how we can make this a better relationship, or where you can come, something like a forum type of a, right now everything is virtual, so that comes to my mind, where the youth is there and the seniors are there, and they are communicating about issues and concerns that are common to them, and how the other group may help them or handle it, or I don't know, sharing of ideas. And that's one thing. And then one more thing that comes to my mind is that being with seniors in my community, I've heard one of the issues that they have is transportation. As they get older, they can't drive. And if they are living far, then they can't go to places and stuff. Maybe when we think about speakers, we can have people maybe in Metro or TriMet, or people who have some impact on transportation for seniors, come give a talk. And then that would be something that I think public in general may be interested in, especially the senior community members would be interested in listening to. And just by getting to know them, we might be able to put our concerns and our issues to them, so that we can impact the change. That's.
So when you're thinking about this as an issue, you're thinking about having a presentation. Who did you say you were thinking about doing?
I mean, anybody whom we can think would make an impact on the transportation, like maybe somebody from TriMet or Metro, or I don't know. We can think about it. Somebody may have an idea, maybe whoever we feel that can make an impact on a change for transportation for seniors.
Mm-hmm.
We could have them come and give a talk and on what the current situation is and what they are thinking about changes, and we can present our ideas too if they have any questions. We had Kevin Teeter come in one time, and he talked about the Beaverton downtown project. That was good, where people talked about, how for small things, even, for people who are using wheelchairs and stuff, how we can make changes, or talk about the bus stops, to have bus stops where, and weather cold. So maybe those type of things that gets into their thinking hat. And then when the time comes to make a decision or a change, then they will probably institute it in their change. So
great. Thank you. That's great. Bev?
Yeah, I'm going back to sort of what I had originally talked about, and perhaps a liaison project where we have a group of people and we reach out to, number one, the committees or organizations, groups within the city, to find out what are they doing, and is there anything that is really related to the senior citizen population. I feel that we miss out on what other groups are doing because we don't liaison with other groups to increase our knowledge of what is happening in our community across organizations. So I would, liaison roles with other groups to get information and bring back to the committee. So it could be a small, you were mentioning a group, a project, subgroup to do that very thing. Who should we be have a liaison with to keep updated?
Great. Great, and I appreciate this. Yeah, this can be a list of like ongoing things that we just want to try to continue to do, and also like discrete projects, right? So the idea is
Right.
just kind of, so that's perfect because just sort of feel like it can be a mix of things.
Right.
So thanks, Beth. All right, other hands that are up. Anybody else want to add anything at this moment that's coming up?
John?
Hi there. Two things. I just signed up for getting emails and things from the Bicycle Advisory Committee. I also looked and they apparently didn't have an April meeting. They don't have any minutes for the April meeting. It goes back to March. The other thing is that we have in our seniors here quite a resource that could be tapped for the Beaverton School District for their AVID program, which has to do with tutoring kids in high school and junior high to help them out and keep them on a track towards college. So,
John, I have
yeah.
a question. Are you thinking about the AVID as one of the liaison, like connecting with AVID folks, and or was that a separate idea?
I think it was promoting AVID to the aging community as a way of helping out the community.
Okay.
It's a volunteer program in the middle schools and high schools.
Right.
Right. I just wasn't sure if you were thinking of it as like, because we had the last one around like BCOA members then being a liaison with other groups, and you were thinking it as part of that, or this was separate. It sounds like it's a separate, you're thinking that the BCOA can help promote AVID and other similar like intergenerational kinds of connections. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I got it right.
Yeah, and we can actually add Aspire to that too, because they're always looking, they're totally run by volunteers, those programs in the schools.
I don't think this is doing any spell check, and so I'm probably making spell mistakes in here, but it's, so anyways, I apologize. I will fix any spelling errors after this, but
Okay.
I think intergenerational is probably spelled wrong, but I can't fix it right now. Okay, anything else?
Neil?
I think this was kind of going off of Jamie's idea or the awards idea, but like just some way where we could maybe like interview and spotlight different seniors around Beaverton. Like I know there's something called like Humans of New York and like Humans of the BSD, where we just like give like a photo of someone and then like a brief description and like just some cool stuff they do or just who they are as a person. So I think it'd be like, since Beaverton's kind of big, it'd be cool just to learn more about individual people and highlight different people, kind of, and like more like for our seniors who may feel like especially like some people who are more like marginalized, so just highlight some people.
I'm familiar with that, Humans of New York. Is anybody else familiar with that?
I've heard of it.
Do other folks know about that? Yeah, I'm gonna work there. So if you're not checking that out, I'm gonna put that so that people can know what to look.
So Neil, do you see these interviews being put in our little paper that comes out 6 times a year, or in the Valley Times, or?
Yeah, I think it could be put like in the paper that goes out, or in the Valley Times, or even like maybe on some social media platforms like Facebook or anywhere. And yeah, I'm sure like after we could find other areas to put it.
Okay, cool. All right. This is getting to be an exciting list. Anything else that's coming up?
Yeah, this is John. We could also highlight these in our city, the city of Beaverton's publication.
That's the one that comes out 6 times a year. Yeah.
Every 2 months, yeah. Okay. This is a pretty good list so far. Is there maybe 1 or 2 more things that are coming up, or are we have a good? don't think I see anybody else.
I don't.
Okay. Sunita, did you raise your hand or was that just that from before? It's okay. All right. It's fine if it's just from before. I just want to make sure. Okay, great. So now what I want you to do is I kind of want to just sort of have a little interactive piece here. If you take your mouse and go up to, oh shoot, it's gonna look different on mine, where it says the little arrow next to the share, you should see something that says annotate. Everybody see, click on where it says
Options.
annotate. Can you see that? Options. Okay, thank you. It says annotate up there at the top bar.
Yeah.
And once you do that, you'll get like a whole new little bar that will show up at the top of your screen that says select, text, draw, stamp, spotlight. Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay, click on a stamp of your choice and you can choose a star, a heart, a question, X. And then I would like you to choose your stamp and put it by what you would like to work on and what you're what you're wanting to work on. And you can put, well, if you're willing to work on more than one thing, then you can put more than one star or stamp. That's fine. It looks like I see Neil and Martha and Jamie and Alexis. Okay, seeing people figure out the stamping option. If you're not able to figure it out, pipe up and we can do it for you.
I think, I don't know, I'm in the meeting with the iPad and it doesn't allow me to do that unless
it doesn't give you an annotate up there at the top bar by the share. If it's not under options, by options up at the top. If it doesn't have that, then I can put one for you.
Okay.
I'll give you a star. You just tell me which.
I mean, all of them are good, but
it's more about figuring out what right now.
But you will
to make sure that we have what you're open to committing to working on. So that's what we're more interested
the
in
second, third, and then the promoting avid and aspire to older adults. I would be interested in that one.
Okay,
And
the intergenerational.
And the transportation one too. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Has everybody had a chance to kind of mark? We have like a pretty
Bev?
Yeah, I'm not able to get to that either. Under view options, it's not coming up. I'm on a laptop and I don't know whether that's impacting it. But if you would put, of course, for me, the liaison roles with other BOC, then the humans of Beaverton. And
liaison and we're Beaverton, humans of Beaverton.
Right.
Oh, you're doing it, Martha? Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
And then older adult awards project. Oh, and actually the intergenerational gathering.
And
my name, but it means Bev.
Okay, awesome. Well, there's a lot of energy for all of these.
Carley?
Okay. Yeah, John.
I just pulled up the Humans of New York website and I'm looking at what they've got there, and they've got stories of various people highlighted, about 500 words each or so. And it's really nice. And that's something that would be fairly easy to do on our website.
I think it's a very cool idea, and it also there's some sort of tie to my mind connected to what you were talking about with the Older Adults Award project too, and you're talking about featuring them. That's a cool concept. So okay, so with all of this, I guess the next question that we were going to talk about, and we're missing a couple new members who said, Susan said assign her to wherever we wanted. But the question is like, what do you want to sort of work, what should be perhaps a subcommittee out of this list? Or do you want to form a couple of subcommittees to be able to help forward the work? When I'm looking at this, I'm seeing sort of this project here. Like some of these are subcommittees and some of these are like not necessarily, like the liaison role is probably not a subcommittee. But what do you see as out of this list being a subcommittee? Just go
Can I
ahead and
ask
type
you a
up. Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
You know, when I put this in minutes, I will not know who has put what, whose
It's
star it
okay.
is and stuff.
It's
Um,
okay.
I think it would be a good information to have though.
Well,
So,
it's okay. I don't think we're gonna, well, Sunita, you and I can chat after this about how much
Yeah,
needs to go in the
yeah.
minutes. Let's chat
Yeah.
after the meeting. I
Sure.
actually meant to, but I think until we decide, we can put once we pick the subcommittees as opposed to the voting. I mean, because this is just like informal, if that makes sense. Like we don't have to put who put their stars by what. So I guess my question is, when I look at this list, I'm looking at like sort of a couple of different ideas here around either speakers and or presentations. So I'm wondering if maybe a subcommittee that could work on like educational forums and speakers perhaps, and then like these then kind of could decide like lumping those together, and they could, a few folks that could work on kind of both of those, and then maybe another one that's focusing on something like the Humans of Beaverton project kind of concept.
I think that there could be a subcommittee for celebrating older residents, and then that be joining the Older Adults Awards project with the Humans of Beaverton, because I think those two things work hand in hand. And it seems like we have enough interest in those to divvy up the tasks appropriately, especially since the Older Adults Award project is a once-a-year thing.
Oh gosh. Undo.
Ouch.
Whew. Whew, that really scared me. I thought the eraser was just like trying to just erase the little check mark, and I didn't mean to do that. Apologize.
I thought that I was just highlighting and I was putting more hearts on.
The whiteboard is not quite as perfect. I really like that idea. What do others think about that idea of celebrate as a category being celebrating older adults, and then a few folks that could work, a few of you that want to focus on that can put a little bit of energy into both of those two.
I like it.
I like it.
Sounds great to me.
Okay, and then what about is there another subcommittee?
Carley, I would like a small subcommittee on the liaison roles to work with me to determine what groups should we reach out to see what they are doing, and if we want to establish a relationship with that group to make sure we're aware of everything that is going on.
Great. So let's see how to get back to this. So perfect. So I'm gonna, sorry, I wish that this was a little bit easier to navigate. This is not the best.
So Bev, do you see the transportation presentation going into that?
Not necessarily, and that's only because of my past experience when we as a group did transportation, looked into that, as it has always been an issue for the aging population. I see this more as making sure that we know what those other groups are doing regarding the senior citizen and aging population, so that we can either team up or that we can, do something else or try and coordinate whatever. Is that I guess I feel strongly that we as a group do not have enough contact with other local organizations, county and state organizations that are also invested in this population.
Okay. So I'm sort of hearing a proposal for like 3 subcommittees. One being the Celebrating Older Adults that can kind of look at this Older Adult Awards project that Martha was talking about, as well as this Humans at Beaverton project. Another to do with that Bev's working on, like, you know, the liaison role and those connecting to others. And then the other around kind of educational forums and or presenters, coming up with some things related to that. And then is this one, I don't know if that would fit under the same thing with kind of the educational, or if that's, what do you all see as this, or is this just something that's an ongoing thing to do?
Well,
rather than a subcommittee?
why can't that be with liaison? Because maybe there are seniors out there who really are looking for something to do. And this, at least they could hear about that there are options for them to work
I
with,
like that.
with kids, with students,
Mhm.
to feel purposeful and intentional. I mean, you know,
Well, do we have older adults in Avid and Aspire?
I'm in
I
Avid.
don't know all the programs. but-
Okay, I think that could work in there too, because what we're trying to do is find out what's going on
Yeah.
that relates to older adults. So I think that's a good one. Put it in there. I think that's fine.
One thing to
Great.
realize is that for Avid, you need to have a training session, and that's probably going to happen in the early fall
Okay.
for Avid.
Yeah, and
Because-
Aspire has the same.
Yeah, okay.
Great.
But I know they need volunteers.
Okay, see,
Okay.
I think that fits just fine because we don't really know much about, we can't advertise that to older adults right now, right?
That's,
So perfect.
you got it, Bev.
Hey, that's great. And I noticed, hey, Paul, we hadn't been, I think, Paul, you're still here listening in. We hadn't really been paying attention to the chat, but I saw that you put a couple things there. You shared like community mobility, promotion of international programming. I think that those kinds of ideas could fit under this idea of the educational and forums and presentations. And I appreciate that comment there in case others are not seeing it, you know, that networking with other organizations is imperative. And thank you for being willing to jump in. And as a reminder, volunteers that are not on part of the committee can be part of subcommittees. So if you're interested in this, Ramona and Paul, you can help. So I can clean this up into a list, but I think the next step will be, let me pause this. Let me see if I can save this really fast. And okay, I saved that so that I don't lose it. And now I'm going to stop the share for a second. The next step, I guess, would just be, Martha, I'm going to hand this back over to you, would just be to sort of identify, you know, who's going to take part on which subcommittee. Okay. And I know I just closed the whiteboard there, but we did identify those 3 areas.
So why don't we start with the honoring the older adults, and we have the awards project and the Humans of Beaverton. So raise your hand if that's a committee you want to and will work on, and I'll write your name down. Okay, Neil, gotcha. Alexis, Suzanne, Jamie, do I have everybody?
Which one is this?
The honoring the older adults.
Yeah, I'm on that.
Sophie and John. And many hands make light work, as my mom always used to say. So let me make sure I've got everybody's name. Jamie, Neil, Alexis, Suzanne, Sophie, and John. Did I get everybody? Awesome. Okay, now our next committee is the Liaison Committee, which is going to be finding resources, state, city, and county organizations, as well as the AVID and Aspire program. So if you want to belong to that and work with that, now is your opportunity. Raise your hand. Okay, Sunita. Bev. John?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. No, don't do it because you want to, not because you think you should.
I'm trying to remember which one, which committee which one this is.
This is the state, city, county organizations for resources.
Oh,
as
okay.
well as the
Yeah,
applicants.
take me off of that one. I want to be on 2 others.
Okay, take you off of that or
Yeah.
leave you on it.
Take me off.
Okay, so I have Sunita and Bev. Anybody else? Okie dokie.
I thought Paul had his hand up, but that might be for something else.
Oh, Paul, did you have your hand up for the liaison committee?
I did.
Gotcha.
Yes.
You're on it. I can't see your hand with your name, so my bad. Okay.
Oh, hold on. I am liaison. I can't pronounce it. I am working with the Bicycle Advisory Committee, so I am on that.
Okay, John, I'm putting your name back on. And this would be other committees in Beaverton too.
Yeah.
This council and all of that. Okay, the third subcommittee is educational forums and presenters. We have intergenerational forums and transportation. So Sunita, anybody else?
Me, Paul.
Okay. Anybody else?
John.
And John. Awesome. We have projects. Yes. I am so excited. Purposeful, live with intention. I love it. Any other comments, letters from home and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I just put a message in there. The contact for Avid with the Beaverton School District is Danica Jensen.
Okay, we'll get
Weiner.
perfect. Where I'm going to hold you responsible when you get together with your subcommittee. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you. Great work. I love your ideas. Awesome. Super terrific. So we're going to move on to our city council update with our illustrious council member, Allison. Welcome.
Thank you. That was so much fun to watch that in progress. I remember going through that exercise with the Arts Commission, and it was not that cut and dry. That was very efficient. So I think I picked up some new ideas for how to run meetings around brainstorming. And again, I apologize if my microphone is bad. I've been having problems with it the last couple of days, so bear with me. So there's 3 things that I wanted to focus on, and I'm happy to touch on anything else if anyone has questions on something that I don't talk about. So I mentioned before the Climate Action Task Force, I believe in our last meeting, I think, that we are actively recruiting for it now. The mailers have gone out for that. And I bring it up for 2 reasons. I'll talk about the sensitive one first, and it came up in the BCCI meeting where I'm also a liaison. And a couple of people said, you know, there was so much emphasis put on wanting to get people under 30 onto the task force that it makes me nervous that this means that folks that are older than that or 55 and older are going to be excluded from the opportunity to serve on this task force. Please tell me more. How are you going to make the selections? And at the time, I didn't have a whole lot of answers to that. I had to ask myself to find out. So I thought I would share it here too. So basically, this is the first time, I believe, in the history of the boards and commissions where they're really trying to be intentional about creating opportunities and trying to encourage younger people to serve on it. And it's not just to do it, it's because of the conversations around the fact that a lot of the progress that's been made in the last couple of years of bringing attention to this issue has been from young folks that are like, well, you know, we've got to get a hands wrapped around this, and we've got to get loud about this. And I think Mayor Beatty wants to both see the task force have like reflect that the value of the youth's voice in bringing the climate crisis to prominence, but also because we just have typically had less youth involvement on our boards and commissions, period. And so that was part of it. The other part was around selection. And from what I understand, Mayor Beatty will be the one who's making the selections for the task force. It's under the purview of the mayor to make the selections for all of the boards and commissions, and then the council approves it. So she will be sifting through what I imagine is a extremely large number of applications of folks that are interested in serving on the Climate Action Task Force, and then making her recommendations of who she thinks would make for a really good overall body of people. I know that she very much values senior perspective and inclusion of Beaverton residents of all ages. So I have zero concern that there's going to be any sort of intentional exclusionary practices to favor youth. So if you have any other questions about that, or if there's feedback that you would like for me to carry to her, for her to consider as she's making her selections, I'm happy to do that. And the way that I framed it for BCCI is that there's been some folks in the shadows in terms of representation on our boards and commissions, and we want to extend the light out to shine it on them as well. We don't want to move the light away and put other people into the shadows. So this is about being more inclusive and not creating exclusivity in the process. So are there any questions or comments on that one before I move on to the other two items? I just explained it great. Okay, good. And so the good news, so that was kind of the sensitive part that I had to figure out. The great part, and this is, oh my gosh, gives me chills even thinking about it right now, is that all you hear about in public government is community engagement. You got to get better at community involvement, community engagement. And we're constantly trying to think, well, how do you do that? How can we do things any differently? Can we use some new tech to try and get more input from people and more people to show up at events? Where can we put our signage, and how much money can we throw at this to try and get people? And for this effort, we also really wanted to make sure that folks that were from low-income communities, folks that traditionally have not really felt like they could apply to boards and commissions, or like they'd be welcome or taken seriously, or perhaps they just don't have the wiggle room in their schedules. We created a stipend for folks that are going to serve on the task force, and we really wanted to encourage community members that have traditionally not been on because of socioeconomic reasons. And so we did something that has never been done, which is we walked door to door to deliver pamphlets in targeted parts of the city where there are the highest number of low-income households. So it was a massive group of volunteers on a Saturday, donating a couple hours of their time with a big stack of flyers and a map, and just simply, they call it drop and lit, which is the terminology for candidates. You've probably gotten a lot of it in the last couple of weeks for our races going on right now. But it was just simply making sure that it got to their front door. And we talk about technology, we talk about all the bells and whistles of how to get people involved, and sometimes it's just boots on the ground and shoe leather. And it was the first time, from what I understand, in Beaverton that we've done something like this. And so it was great to be a part of it. I got a great sweatshirt. It's got Beaverton logo on it and volunteer written on the back. And I really hope that we do this again, because I think that it will have made an impact. So I just wanted to share that because that was pretty exciting. Okay, the last two things are the city manager hire is still going on. but we're getting really, really close. We did initial interviews as a council with several candidates, and we have, they were all great. We shortlisted to 2. They are here now, taking tours of the city, meeting with city staff, with department heads, and really being put through the paces for this. From what I understand, this kind of, it's not unique. City managers go through a really rigorous hiring process, and we are putting them through one. They are going to be meeting with us. Sorry, that's happening on Thursday when they're doing those tours. We're meeting with them on Friday for a final round of shortlist interviews. And I believe we might be making the selection as early as Friday on who's going to be our first ever permanent city manager. So in at least recent history. So that's really exciting. The 2 candidates are going to be available for a community forum. And I don't have the information right in front of me for that. It's findable on the website. You might have already gotten it. You might all know about it. But Carley, could you maybe help me? Thank you. So check them out and give your input on it.
Yeah.
And then the last thing.
6 o'clock.
Oh,
Thursday at 6 o'clock.
there you go. Thursday at 6 o'clock. And I honestly, it would be really hard to say that we could make a bad decision in this because they're both fantastic. The last thing is around our school resource officers or safety resource officers. This has been a topic that is coming up in communities all over America, especially in the last year, but it's been percolating for several years. And you've probably seen in the news that a lot of cities have voted to defund city finance obligation to help fund that type of program. Shorthand is SRO for it. And Beaverton is now in a position where we have to decide if we're going to continue to fund the SRO program with the Beaverton School District. We have the Human Rights Advisory Commission, who had created a report across a number of items that relate to public safety, who made the recommendation that we should defund it. On the other side of that, we've had folks at the school and on school board, and Sunita, I'm sure you have been watching this very, very closely, who have been trying to wrap their heads around this for over a year, deployed a survey that got, I think it was like 5,000 responses to it, but it wasn't a perfect survey. There were some questions, some opportunities left off of it that would have been very helpful to inform the conversation and decision making. And it's just been a very clunky and slow process to get to any kind of decision around it. And where we are right now is the Beaverton School District Superintendent, Don Grotting, and the school board has invited the council to enter into a joint process to engage a third-party facilitator to come in to talk about, you know, instead of like engineering a solution, it's let's discuss what the need is and then devise the solution. So it's not going to be an overnight decision. And Mayor Beatty had suggested that I be the liaison because they wanted to have one liaison to do this process. Luckily, we have 2 because I wouldn't want to do it alone. So myself and Councilor Sansucci will be the liaisons on behalf of the council to begin that joint process with BSD and start thinking through what that looks like, community engagement timeline. Is it yes? Is it no? Is it something in the middle? And at this point, nothing is set in stone. All I can say is that every single person involved in this just cares intensely about our kids. And we just want to make sure that we're making the right decisions for them, both to keep them safe, to recognize what it's like for a kid of color to see someone in uniform and what that might spark in them. And also the rise in mental health distress amongst our kids, and making sure that when administrators encounter a situation that they feel like they cannot handle on their own, or teachers, that when they pick up the phone, they are calling the right number for the right help. So I will be completely candid and say I've got a little sense of like, whoa, this is a lot. It's a big responsibility. I'm taking it very, very seriously. I'm doing as much research as I possibly can, and I'm talking, and more importantly, listening to as many people as I possibly can. So it's always an open door. If you ever have thoughts and you want to talk about it, please let me know. And Sunita, I know you want to say something. You got your hand raised, so go for it.
I have a question, actually. Kudos to you for taking that responsibility for being a liaison. I do not envy you. It's going to be a very tough work, and I hope you make the right choice, whatever that is. My question is that the meetings that you will have, are they going to be public?
Yes, there will be an initial not public meeting that is just going to be simply to figure out what we're doing. So it'll be a little bit of sausage making of like, what does the schedule look like? How do we devise an RFP? I think just make a safe space for, because this is a tough subject.
It's
And the
a
reason why
tough, but I think one thing that, I mean, basically we want safety for our kids, right? No matter what color you are, we want them to be safe in schools. So I think making sure that we have a good backup plan, whatever the decision is. And the policies, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know what shape or form it will be at, but there will be community engagement. There will be transparency. There will be no, I do not want to see us do this in a way where there are any assumptions baked in at the front end. So it'll be a lot about gathering as many possible questions that we can possibly think of and answering all of them and getting clarity together so that we can't later say, well, we thought. So I want to be meticulous at the front end, but yes.
Yeah, I'm glad it's being done because I've heard from both sides. And one thing I know for sure, that reform is needed. So I'm glad that it's being done. So that's my take on it.
Thank you.
John had a question.
No, I was going to ask if Neil had any input on this, and Neil's got his hand raised.
Yeah, the interesting thing is I'm actually on the Beaverton Student Committee for the BSD, and this is a big focus point for one of our subcommittees, and they're actually hosting like some dialogue or conversation with students and SROs. And I think, yeah, I'm not exactly all too familiar, but I think it goes both ways, that some students are like uncomfortable with the SROs because, you know, of the race involved and seeing the officers in uniform. And then there's also opinions about like safety and stuff. So I know that they're having that event coming up, like that dialogue. So that could be something you're interested in as well.
Is that something that I could attend?
I think so. Yeah, I'll ask the person who's the main guy who's facilitating that, and then I can like email you those details.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Neil.
Neil, send it to me too, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'd
sure.
be happy to just be very, very quiet in the background, just listening. You know, if they'd like me to say anything, I can, but I'd really just like to be there to witness it.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I think Bev had a question, Allison.
Yeah, Alice, my question was just related to this previous discussion. Has the Youth Advisory Committee been requested for input?
Well, I know that HRAC did some work when they were devising their report. I don't know the extent of that. It was all in the last year before I took office. Where we're at right now is kind of like a clean blank slate. And part of these early days is going to be creating that like kitchen sink list of everyone who we should reach out to, who should have an opportunity to give their input and ideas and concerns and all of that. So I think part of it's the challenge is just making sure we don't miss anyone on that list.
Okay,
So that's, and yeah, I imagine that we'll be creating opportunities for folks both at the city, boards and commissions, the Black Parent Union, the teachers union, I know there's peer court, which I don't quite understand how that works yet. I'm still learning about that. Yeah, there's a lot of people in here, but hearing from kids, hearing from parents, hearing from the school board, hearing from the police, it's sifting through a lot of data and a lot of personal experiences and just walking the line all the way through it. So if you have ideas of who we should be reaching out to, please let me know, and I'm taking notes as we're talking too.
okay, good, because I just feel we have them as a committee to serve the mayor and the city, and I think they should be definitely involved because their whole purpose is ear on the school environment and relaying that to the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Bev. One last question, Ramona.
Allison, I'm sorry, maybe it's my computer system or something, but at times your voice is fading in and out, and it seems like it's on the most crucial points. And so when you had said that you and Mark Sansucci are working on this issue for representing the Beaverton City Council, and you had mentioned prior to that the Human Rights Committee.
Human Rights Advisory Committee.
Advisory Committee and their recommendation for which way you should go. Is anyone other than you and Mark working on the besides the Human Rights Commission and the City Council? Who else is involved as far as decision makers?
So what to talk briefly about what my role will be. My role and Councillor Sansucci's role is we are not decision makers in and of ourselves. We are simply helping to drive the process and make sure the meetings get on the books and help create a framework for the conversation, both from the council, and make sure we're keeping council informed and helping make sure that things end up on the council agendas. The other people in the room would be the Beaverton School District and the school board. And so that's the joint process of it, but it's just going to be the cast of characters that are helping to set the stage for all of the input. And in addition to that, the plan is to procure a third-party facilitator who has, I'm hoping, worked with other jurisdictions on this and has seen the ins and outs of how these conversations have played out in other communities, can bring some lessons learned and maybe some additional ideas around process. So that is still in the very, very early stages. We'll have to release an RFP, make it a competitive process, figure out what the money looks like for that, who's paying for what. Yeah, so that's very, very, it's still incubating. As far as HRAC is concerned, the Human Rights Advisory Commission, they created their report independent of this process. And that report was released in very late December of 2020. And it's not just for the SROs, it's across a wide variety of topics related to public safety, including creating an advisory board to oversee the police, to the policy 8 can't wait and adopting that, and hiring practices and training practices. So it covered a broad range of things. What we've decided to do is extract the SRO component out into its own thing and also go through each other recommendation within that report and decide if we can move to adopt it or not. And that's also in progress. Luckily, I'm not the one who has to push that through. That's happening as a council, and we've got city manager working on that to just make sure it continues to get on the agenda. The reason why it's moved so slow, and it's really important that I note this, is not because of this avoidance behavior, like we'll just ignore it till it goes away. It's simply because we're in the pandemic and the response is ongoing, and it chews up time, council time. The interim city manager position and transitioning the government has required a lot of time. And there's a lot of things that have really time sensitive levers on them for approving money and funding and responding to emergencies that is just jamming our agendas. And we're not getting done until very often after 10 o'clock at night. And so they're like 5-hour long marathon meetings on Tuesdays. But we also, we're getting to the end of finally getting our permanent city manager, and May is the budget. So that's another massive thing we've got in front of us. So I imagine, just to set the expectation for the community, we're going to be focusing more carefully and with more time in June.
Great. Allison, I'm going to have to say we need to stop because Carley still needs to present, and we're a minute to 4:30.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I know it's thank you. I'm so glad you're taking the time, though. It's really important to not just rush a decision. So our wonderful leader, Carley.
So well, the good news is that we actually covered most of what I was going to share. So we already mentioned when you can meet the city manager finalists. So you already shared that time, and that there's information that's going to be shared about the city manager finalists. And the other thing is that free tax help has been extended all the way through July 15th to the Beaverton residents. So we'll put the information there in the minutes there for you to, if you're interested in that, but it's also on the city website, and it's cashoregon.org that the city works with. And then the city council meeting time has moved to 6 o'clock instead of 6:30. And then that one has passed. Okay. And just one more quick comment before we close the meeting there about we were talking about the school resource officers. I just wanted to mention, I'm not sure if Neil's are you still part of MEAB right now, or have you finished your term with that?
Yeah, I'm still part of that, and I can, like, if you need help with getting input from them, I can help out with that.
And I was just going to say, I know that they produced a letter as well from MEAB that has this as part of their topic that I may or may not have gone to council yet, but I know that came to my mind. And then just briefly, I'll take off, just if taking off my hat here for a second. In my role in the Center for Mediation and Dialogue, I will say that I have a lot of connections with restorative justice. So if there's these questions around, you were talking about peer court and these kinds of things, I'm happy to talk with you offline about some of these other pieces and some resources or connections for the facilitation component for that. You're sort of speaking my language in that. That's just my last comment there. But other than that, those are my comments for the whole committee. And I think that's it. Martha, that's all I have for staff liaison.
Wonderful, thank you. And did you say the free tax help is through July 15th? Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for a dynamic meeting. It has been rich. We're walking away with a lot of information. We will get our illustrious secretary, Sunita, will get our subcommittees all lined up and everybody in line. And have a great week.
Just a real quick one. Coin 6 has got a news program all this week on Is Portland Over? And you can see that by Googling it. Coin 6 is Portland Over. It's going to be a pretty interesting set of reporting.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for your energy, your humor, your ideas, and being here. Take care.
Thank you, Martha.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.